Welcome to this painting tutorial. How's it going, everyone? Welcome to this video. In this video I will be painting a Black Legion Exalted Champion Chaos Space Marine from the Shadowspear box set. These Marines are massive improvements over their old sculpts, and they also have tons of detail. I had a lot of fun painting this guy, and I will be taking you through all of the steps that I took to paint it, and you can stop at any point you feel comfortable. But I will be spending a lot of time painting every detail I can, and it's going to be a lot of edge highlighting and painting. And to paint tabletop, you don't really have to go through all of these details, but this is all I did, and I will be instructing you when to stop if you want. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will get started. I'm going to get started by priming the model in black. For that, I use Vallejo Surface Primer Black through an airbrush. I really like the finish that the airbrush gives you. It's very thin and preserves a lot of the detail. But you can use any other primer that you want, but I would recommend you using black. I'm going to start by giving the entire model a coat of black. For that, I'm going to use model color black. And this is going to be just a thin layer so that if we made any mistakes during the process, we can clean them up with this color. And it's going to be the same finish as the entirety of the rest of the model. If you use different colors such as Abaddon Black and Vallejo Black, you might see difference where you painted black compared to the undercoat that you give to the model. So I just wanted this model to look entirely the same black. And if I need to clean up in the process, I can use the same color and it's going to not be noticeable. The first color that I'm going to paint is actually the silver, and for that I'm going to use Leadbelcher. And with this color I'm going to pick all of the areas that I want to be silver. For this, it's only important that you paint those areas well, the areas that are going to be silver, without painting in any of the areas that are going to end up looking black, so that you don't have to clean up. Any other areas that you paint over with silver, they don't matter because we're going to paint them with other colors afterwards. So just make sure to paint these areas well, and for the sake of this video I try to be neat and clean, but you really don't have to, and I'll show you why, because at a later step I'm going to come back and clean up the blacks, and it's going to be easier that way. Once that's done, I'm going to use Khorne Red, and with this color I'm going to paint all of the red areas on the grip and on the loincloth. I decided to use a more darker crimson red for these areas, and for the rest it's going to be Mephiston Red. You can paint it Mephiston Red instead if you want. But just make sure to paint it with thin layers of paint. Add a little bit of water to all of your paints when you're using them, and just apply this over the area. Just be careful not to get into the silver or in the places that are going to be black at the end. The rest doesn't matter, but I decided to do this first because there's some detail on top of these loincloth, and I need to paint those after the red. Next, I'm going to start painting the gold with Retributor Armor, and with this color I'm going to paint all of the gold trim around the armor. This is a very lengthy step, and it's going to take a lot of time, but you can paint it a little bit sloppy. It doesn't matter if you paint on the black a little bit. Just make sure not to paint on the red or silver. And once we wash it, this is going to delineate all of the detail and all of the edges, and we can just clean up with black over the black panels, and it's going to be a lot quicker. It's not as easy to paint this color without painting in other areas, so it's going to be almost inevitable that you paint in other stuff that you didn't want to, so don't worry about it. Just make sure to keep those areas of silver clean and go over all of the trim, and you can be a little bit messy, doesn't matter, we'll clean it up afterwards. Now that that's done, you can see it's not perfect, but it's close and all of the areas are painted. I'm going to start painting the flesh with Rakarth Flesh, and also I'm going to use this to base coat the bone and all of the wrappings around the leg or the thigh of the Chaos Space Marines that is holding the holsters of the pistols and stuff like that. And I'm just going to make sure to base coat these areas well. The wash is going to do the rest of the job for us. So just make sure to be clean on this step and the coming steps before the wash. Once that's done, I'm going to start base coating the places that I want to be red with Mephiston Red. This is a lot more vibrant red that I'm going to use on the hair and on the plasma and on the little Horus eye on the piece on the belt of this model. As always, make sure to all of the steps thin down the color with a little bit of water so it flows and it covers well and it doesn't create any crumbs or any brush marks or anything like that because you're using too thick paint. Once it's done, I'm going to go over and use Rhinox Hide, and with this color I'm going to paint all of the areas that I want to be leather, dark leather, and this is going to be the brown for all of the holsters and pouches and things like that around the belt of this model. If you found any other places that you want to be leather, you can use this color as well. After that, I'm going to use Balthasar Gold, and with this gold I'm going to paint all of the places that are going to be a little bit more brassy gold color, such as the end of the plasma gun and the little power pack thing on the chain sword, and any other places that you want to be a darker gold, you can use this color if you want. Just thin it down a little bit and use it all over these areas. Now that we painted all of the colors, we're going to start washing the model, and for that I'm going to start with Nuln Oil, and with this color I'm going to wash over all of the details that are going to be silver, and I'm going to wash over the Khorne Red, which is the loincloth and the grip of the chain axe, sorry, and I'm going to also wash all of the places that are going to be dark leather, such as the pouches that are painted in Rhinox Hide. Make sure to shake well your wash before you apply it, and I'm not thinning it down with anything, I'm just applying it straight from the pot. Next I'm going to use Rakarth Flesh Shade, and I'm going to do the same thing but just for the places that are going to be flesh, and I want the skin to be very pale, and I want it to be the Rakarth Flesh just shaded with this color, and then I'm going to bring it back, but this is overall the color scheme for the skin, and that's it. Once that's done, I'm going to use Agrex Earthshade, and with this color I'm going to wash the rest of the miniature, and this is going to be all of the gold, all of the red, and I think that's it. But I'm going to do it a very heavy wash. Make sure to have a good wash and shake it well before you're using it, because you don't want any frosting or anything weird going on around the model. But I'm going to cover these areas fairly heavily with wash, just so that it delineates all of the edges of those gold areas. And if you wanted, you can wait till it dry and give it a second coat. I didn't do that, but because I don't want the gold to be very overpowered by other colors, I want it to still look a little bit yellowish. I don't want it to look very tarnished or anything like that, just a little bit. And I'm going to go over the whole model, and this wash is going to get into the black panels. It doesn't matter that much. It's not going to change them much, but that's it. Once it's done, the model looks like this. It looks very cool already. I'm going to start cleaning up the panels with model color black. The wash did a lot of that work by itself, making a thick line all around the gold trim and cleaning up those edges for us, but there are some places that it didn't clean that well. I'm going to go over those places with the original black that I used at the beginning, and this is going to be just that. That is going to be all that we need to have a tabletop Black Legion Chaos Space Marines. You can leave it like this as a tabletop standard and it's going to look very good. But for the purposes of this video, I want to take it all the way so that you can paint even Abaddon with this method. And I'm going to continue highlighting all of this stuff. And for that, I'm going to start by highlighting the black. And for that, I'm going to use straight up Thunderhawk Blue. You can start by using Dark Reaper if you want, with a thicker edge highlight, but I'm going to go start straight up with Thunderhawk Blue, and I'm going to apply as thin as I can of an edge highlight over all of the edges of the black. They're not very many, and I'm not going to go over all of the edges that are around the trim or any things like that. I'm going to just go over the very apparent edges, and I'm going to give them a small edge highlight with this color. You can use the edge of the brush, the tip of your brush in some areas. Just be careful and do as thin as a line as you can. This takes a little bit of practice, but it's not so hard, and it gives a very cool appearance. Once that's done, I'm going to continue edge highlighting with Fenrisian Grey, and this is going to go over all of the edge highlights that we've already did, but this is going to be a thinner highlight and only on the sharpest corners of the previous one, on all of the square edges and all of the sharpest places of the curved lines around those edges. And this is going to give an extreme highlight that is going to make it really pop. And if you want, you can thin it down with a little bit of drying retarder so that it helps you stay wet for longer. And I also started licking the tip of my brush before loading it with paint. This really helps to keep the tip of the brush sharp. If you don't want to lick the tip of your brush, that's perfectly fine. You can just drag it and spin it, and it's going to create that tip for you. Once that's done, I'm going to start highlighting all of the metals around the model, and for that I'm going to use Stormhost Silver. And with this I'm going to pick all of the edges of the yellow, the brass, and the silver. If you thought that painting the yellow was a pain in the butt, this is going to be a lot more work. And just if you take it easy and you go over those edges, you can just pick the most important edges and not edge highlight the whole thing, or you can just leave them as they are. They look pretty good as they are, but if you want that level of quality that looks like it came out right out of the back of the box, you are going to need to do these edge highlights. They look very good. They tone down the yellowness of the gold, and it looks a lot more shiny and clean, and also brings all of the details on any of the other metallic areas. So little by little, just start picking these areas, or just the most important edges that you feel that you want to edge highlight, and just go around the whole model, and that's going to be almost the entirety of the model done, other than the small other areas that we're going to start highlighting next. Once that's done, the model looks like this, and it looks pretty cool. It looks very shiny and very nice, but then I'm going to start highlighting the skin with the Rakarth Flesh. And I'm going to start painting this over all of the open areas of the skin, just leaving the recesses on the previous color. Just thin down this color and just use it over the open areas of the head and the face, leaving all of the wash on those crevices. And that's it. Once that's done, I'm going to finish the skin up with Palid Flesh, and with this color I'm going to pick all of the sharpest edges on the details of the face. For that I'm going to just pick up the edge of the brow, the cheekbones, the tips of the arrows on the scar on the forehead and on the ear and stuff like that. And that's going to be it. For the bone, I'm going to use Ushabti Bone, and with this color I'm going to paint all of the skull areas and all of the bone areas around the armor. There's some teeth or little spikes here and there of bone on the shoulder pad and on the feet. And I'm going to start painting this over all of the area, just leaving the recesses on the previous color, and start leaving some shadows with the previous color. They're going to look pretty good. Just make sure to thin down this color, because with light colors it's tempting to use it thick and you're going to pretty much lose a lot of the detail. It's better to use thin layers that don't cover that well and let them dry and give it a second coat. It's going to look a lot better that way. Once that's done, I'm going to use Screaming Skull, and with this color I'm going to pick the sharpest edges of the bone, just the very tips of the little spikes in the armor, or just the cheekbones and brow lines and stuff like that on the skulls. Next, for highlighting the Khorne Red areas, I'm going to use Tuskgor Fur, and this is going to be just an edge highlight on the edges of the loincloth and on the grip of the chain axe. I forgot to tell you that while I was using the Palid Flesh on the face, I also used it to edge highlight all of the places that are going to be wrappings here and there that are going to be a pale color. And for that little detail on the holster of the gun, I painted those edges with Palid Flesh as well. Once that's done, I'm going to start highlighting the red. For that, I'm going to use Evil Sunz Scarlet, and this is going to go over all of the detail of the hair, all of the hair strands here and there, just leaving the deepest recesses on the previous color. And on the plasma gun, I'm going to start edge highlighting the outer parts that are near the red of the plasma, the silvers and the gold. I'm going to edge highlight those edges to give it like a glow effect. This is going to look very good once I start highlighting it, and this color is going to be a good object source of light that is going to hit those edges of the gun, and it's going to look very good. Also, I forgot that we're applying these colors also to the Eye of Horus, leaving a little bit of the previous color behind, and we are highlighting each time we use a new red color highlight. Next, I'm going to use Wild Rider Red on the hair. It's going to be only on the tips of the hair strands and on the sharpest places where it curves, and I'm going to pick those edges out with this Wild Rider Red. And on the gun, I'm going to try to pick all of those little edges on the plasma coils that are going around the gun. This is going to be a little bit difficult, but if you have patience and a good tip on your brush, you can just freehand those little tips and do it the best as you can. And also, I'm going to repaint a little bit of the Eye of Horus, just leaving a little bit of the both colors that we left behind. And to finish up the reds, I'm going to finish it up with Fire Dragon Bright, and this color is going to be on the sharpest corners of the plasma coils, and just a little line, horizontal line on the Eye of Horus, just to give it a very bright fiery glow. And that's going to be it for the reds. And to finish up this model, I'm going to paint a little line with black, thin down the black so that it's more like a ink consistency, so that you can freehand just a little line in the middle of the Eye of Horus, on the middle of the belt piece of this Chaos Marine, and that's going to be it. And we are done. And this is the finished model. I have to say I had a lot of fun painting this model. I really enjoyed the new sculpts, the ton of detail, the plasma effect. I had a lot of fun painting that. And I think overall the miniature looks great. And it also is a lot of work, and you may not want to paint all of your Chaos Space Marines like this, or you may it just takes a lot of time, but they look great. Or you can just paint your characters with this color scheme, going through all the steps, and they're going to look great. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to learn how I did the lava base, I did a lava base for a Blood Crusher of Khorne a while back. I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to check it out. And that's it for me. I hope you found this video entertaining and helpful, and that it helps you paint your Black Legion Chaos Space Marines for your new Chaos Space Marine sets. And that's it. That's all for me. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next video. You stayed. Great. Thank you very much for supporting my channel, and if you would like to become a patron, there is a link to my Patreon page in the description below. Your contributions help pay for my work and keeps the channel going. A $1 a month is more than enough, and you can cancel at any time. If you can't, don't worry, you can support my channel by simply watching my videos and sharing them with your friends. Thank you for watching, have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.